Yeah, quality costing and benchmarking. Today, this is what we will be talking in this video. We talk about quality cost. There are basically four quality costs that needs to be adhered to, or you should take a note of it. Is one of them is preventive cost. Next is your appraisal cost, and then the failure cost. We are talking about it, which can be fragmented into two parts of being internal and external. So yes, four aspects of quality cost: preventive cost, appraisal cost, failure cost, both internal and external as the case might be. We'll talk about the preventing cost in the first thing. Any efforts to help people do it the right thing the first time and all the time. Every time that you processes around it, never take a shortcut, never go for any other variations than what has been mandated. So let it be the marketing, let it be the customer user interactions. We are talking about product, service, design, development. We're talking about purchasing and vendor partnership. We are talking every aspect of quality. Now, it might be marketing, it might be product, it might be service, it might be designing, it might be purchasing, it might be operation, whether it is manufacturing or service. We're talking about quality engineering, quality administration, and other preventive costs that needs to be adhered to. Remember, all efforts to help people is to do it every time the right way. So that is what we will be talking. Next is the appraisal cost. It is all about inspecting, it's all about testing, it is all about related equipment and supply. Purchasing appraisal cost, incoming goods and product, appraisal operations as in testing, operation thereby. We are talking about external appraisals. That is when we go and take a field study or go for a field trip outside the company. We take first-hand information from the end customer thereby. The data reviews to be done. The cost supports and the appraisal efforts, everything that has to be bounded for. Let us come with the preventive cost, doing it the right time the first time, doing it the right time the first time, and every time thereafter. We are talking about quality administration, quality engineering, and management system certification is what will enable us the preventive cost. Any deviations from this, the right way to do around it will always result in harakiri, and that means you are not going to come up with the right product or the services thereby. Let us start with the failure cost. To begin with, the internal failure cost, as in the defects, as in the problem prior to the shipping. That means it is during the manufacturing processes. So there might be wrong thing as far as product design is concerned. There might be failures in the product design. There might be a service failure, purchasing failure, incoming part failure, defective rejects, scraps, downgrading, repair of work, material reviews, corrective action, as the case might be. This is what we are looking forward to it, right? So yes, we need to design the product, the service failures, purchasing failures, and so on and so forth. Let us understand the failure cost as far as which is external to the company, as in problem after shipping. Now, compliant investigation will tell, or probably handling charges, handling faulty handlings, problem solving, failure analysis that comes around it. There are chances of the goods being returned because it is not adhering to the standards. Read retrofit and recall, warranty claims, liable costs, penalties, and others. Remember, these all activities are nothing but a costing to the company. It is making a dent to the profitability of the company thereby. So, what is benchmarking? A method for identifying and probably importing the best practices in order to improve performances. The process of learning, adapting, and measuring outside practices and processes from any organizations to improve performances per se. And this is what benchmarking is all about it. We should be doing around. So let us understand why we should go for benchmarking, because it tells us the performance and how are we faring about it. In fact, it provides us with the opportunities of what can be done or what is expected without being mandated or dictated by somebody else. So you will be able to dissect the informations once you are benchmarking your performance with the best in the industry. So learn from others' experiences. Set realistic, definitely realistic, but at the same time ambitious targets. Uncover strength in one's own organization. better prioritize and allocate resources, thereby, as the case might tell it to you. We require benchmarking. Benchmarking plays a pivotal role. Then comes the public sector benchmarking. Citizen demand effective and responsive government. Voters recent waste of the tax dollars, waste, it goes down the drain. People ask for greater accountability from the government. People ask for a weaker economy, forces government to provide services which are of subpar in nature, probably because of less resources. So this is what public sector benchmarking is all about. It citizens are asking for stable services which are effective, responsive from the government as per with the tax that they have been paying for. So voters would be resisting any wastage in the tax dollar. They want to see the tax dollar being going to the extra mileage. People are asking for greater accountability from the government thereby. So let us begin with benchmarking. Number one, strategic benchmarking is what we are looking into it, as in how public, private, and non-profit organizations compare with each other. Can we do so? So public versus public, private versus private, non-profit versus non-profit, or in other case, public versus private, private versus non-profit, non-profit versus public. So the way you want to benchmark yourself, it moves across industries, it moves across cities, across countries to determine what are the best strategic outcomes that can be played across with it. Let us go to the second types of benchmarking, that is all about performance benchmarking. How public, private, non-performance, non-profit organizations compare with themselves, with each other in terms of product, in terms of services. It focuses on the element. This time we are talking about element of cost, technical qualities, service features, speed, reliability, and other performance comparison that comes around it. Remember, we are not at this point looking at the performance of the organization as a whole. Now we are looking at sub performance level, as in sub unit level, at each individual thing in terms of cost, in terms of technical qualities, in terms of service features, speed, reliability, and other performance comparison as the case might be. Let us visit to the third part of benchmarking, that is all about process benchmarking. Again, how public, private, and non-profit organizations compare through identification of the most effective operating practices from many organizations that perform more or less a similar work process. That is what we are looking forward to it. That is what we need to go around it. When not to benchmark, there are reasons, there are options when you should not be benchmarking at all. Now, when should we go about it? How should we go about it? So, target is not critical to the core business function. Customers' requirement is not clear. Key stakeholders are absolutely not involved. Inadequate resources to carry out through. So you when you don't have a top management support, when you don't have the requisite manpower to go about it, when there's an abrupt flow of the resources. So this is the time when you should not be benchmarking, no plan for implementing findings. As in you might have benchmark, you might have come up with the findings, but then there are no way to upgrade it. Fears of sharing information with other organizations per se, and this is what we need to go across with it. Am I clear? So there are reasons when you should not be benchmarking at all. Benchmarking process is all about planning, is all about collecting of data as in what you are doing and analyzing with them. If the data are up to the benchmarked industry benchmark standards, if not, can we improve upon it? Can we improve? And this planning process goes on and on. And there will be a time when you are exceeding the benchmark performances. Now your practices will be adhered to by the rest of the companies, the rest of the followers, industries per se, as the case might be. So we talk about planning. Let us visit it, determine the purpose and the scope of the project, select the process to be benchmarked, choose the team, define the scope as and when on basis, develop flowchart for the process, establish the process measures thereby, identify benchmarking partners as on when on basis if we are going to go through about it. So we are talking about planning, determining the purpose and scope of the project, selecting the process that needs to be benchmarked, choosing the team who are going to implement this process altogether, define the scope of the project as to the time limit, as to the process, as to the workflow, as to the cost that needs to be benchmarked about it. develop the flowchart of the process, establish the measurement process thereby, and identify your partners for benchmarking. Next step is all about collecting data, right? Data is all what we need for creating background research to gain through understanding on the process, on the partnering of an organization. Use questionnaire to gather information necessary for benchmarking as the case might be. Conduct the site visit if additional information is required. Conduct interviews if more detailed information is required. So you can have a generalized observation and collect data in case if you find there are certain anomalies or certain things that needs to be further introspected. You can go for detailed reports and solicit information accordingly. Third aspect is all about analysis. Yes, we are going to do analysis in terms of quantitative data partnering, organizing and of your organizations. It is all about the qualitative data of partnering organizations and your organizations. What are we looking into it? The quantitative data and the qualitative data. Quantitative data is the quantum of data, the amount of data that we are analyzing. Believe me or not, the more the quantity, the better your analysis would be all about it. And then comes the quality of data. In case you have a bulk of the data, but bulk of the data has many data which are incomplete, that means the quality of the data is inferior one. So you should always maintain not only the volume of data, but also a proper data sequencing, and the quality should be of an optimum reliability. And that will determine a proper analysis, which will give you information which will be to the point, absolutely to the point, and help you to assess if there are any gaps between your performances and the benchmark performances thereby. So determine the performance gap, and that was the only issue of collecting data in the first hand, planning of what we are actually going around it. And then comes the last steps of improvising ourselves, improving on the practices, report finding and belief brief management as to what you are doing good, develop an improvement implementation plan, implement the process improvement then and there, monitor performance measurements, track progress, recalibrate the process as on when on needed. We are looking forward to it. Is all about improving the practices. With this, we come to an end of this presentation. Thank you for watching this video.